Alright guys, welcome to Advanced Programming with Java. I'm doing a lecture all on my own and I actually speak better to an audience. So if you hear me stumbling over things, it's because I don't have an audience. So I know that doesn't make sense, but it's true. So hopefully you have access to Canvas, or else you probably aren't watching this. Hopefully you've followed the instructions for installing Java Development Kit and for NetBeans. If you've taken Java, Intro to Java from another instructor, or you've done Java development on your own, then you may already have the Java Development Kit already installed. You may have your own ways of doing it. You may develop with TextPad or something like that. That is okay. You can keep doing that, but there will be assignments that do require NetBeans. So NetBeans is an open source, integrated development toolkit. It's one of the industry standards along with Eclipse. So we just settled upon using it. For one thing, it comes with a nice GUI developer for creating forms. So what I am going to do today is create a very simple Java program with a class. And I actually should have asked y'all to write a program even before we did this, just to make sure that you knew, that you had some introductory Java experience. But I didn't do that, so we're going to leap right into it. So first, talking about Canvas and where things are located. Let me switch over to student view so you see exactly what I'm seeing. Except for this purple thing down here that's kind of annoying. So once you slip into Canvas, what you'll see is modules. In the modules, you'll see the class information. I'm sure you already know this. Instructions for installing Java and NetBeans. If you haven't done that already, you better go and do it. Week 1, which is where assignments and things are going to pop up, and lecture notes. Then a list of PowerPoints. And this not being an intro class, we're going to leap straight to objects and classes. Hopefully you've already covered this, so we're not going to hit every page in the PowerPoint. Better read this chapter if you are not familiar with the concepts that we are going to be demonstrating in the lecture. I'm going to go ahead and download it just for a quick eyeballing of it. If Canvas offers you a little preview window, of a document, a PowerPoint, a Word document, I always just download it anyways because the native application on your computer for viewing PowerPoints is a lot better than this little thing, especially for something like 43 pages long, right? So what I did is I downloaded it. I'm going to go ahead and view it. Alrighty, I'm not really afraid of viruses. I may edit the PowerPoint as I go just to make my, give me all sorts of errors about it. Damaged PowerPoint. I'm going to go and re-download them from the manufacturer of the book, publisher of the book, see what the deal is. Alright, so object-oriented programming. If you've taken a programming course like Python or Fundamentals, you probably mostly did procedural programming, which is where the program starts at the top of the file and just runs straight down. Now, hopefully in scripting, Fundamentals, you brushed upon the idea of object-oriented programming. What an object is it's an instance of a class. What is a class? Well, why don't I just pop open Notepad and take some notes here. Right, so a class, why don't I make this text bigger? A class is a template, a blueprint for a collection of data and the methods, functions, that work on that data. Now that's not the textbook definition of it. And you can have a class that doesn't have any data. You can have a class that doesn't have any methods, but in general, that's what you think of. It's a blueprint for a collection of data and the methods that work on that data. So you might make a class that's a student class for some kind of accounting program, some kind of, tracking the number of students in your classes. You need to keep track of their names, right? And their student IDs and their enrollment dates and stuff like that. That would be all the data. And then you'd have functions that would manipulate that, right? If you're going to enroll the student, you'd have a method named enroll, something like that. Okay. So, what is an object or an instance? An object is an instance of the class. So, if you have a class named string, right? If you wrote your own string class, you don't need to do this because Java already comes with a nice string class, right? There'd be some stuff in here. You should not capitalize the letter C in the word class. However, all of your classes that you create should have a capital letter, should begin with an initial cap. That's just an industry standard. Please go ahead and follow it. Not like I'm going to count off if you start your class names with a lowercase letter, but they should begin with an uppercase letter. And you'll see me follow that all the time. All right, so if I had a class named string and then I wanted to make a string, I'd do something like this. String S is equal to new string. S is the instance. Java goes out, allocates some memory for the object. Until you do this, you don't have an instance of the class. This is the blueprint, and this is the actual instance. This is the actual object itself. Actually, this is not the actual object itself. It's just a pointer to the object. It's just a reference to the object. But that's okay. I'm going to switch between calling it a reference and the object itself. You know, it's wrong to say S is the object because technically S is a reference. It's a pointer to the object. But just like talking about houses and street addresses, right? You have a house and it has a street address. You might say, I live at 123 South Main. No, you don't. You live in a house that has the address 123 South Main. 123 South Main is a reference to your house. Same deal here. This called the constructor create a string. That is the reference. This is the reference to the house that you live in. The house followed a blueprint. So the blueprint was some kind of class that specified your house, right? Number of bedrooms, you know, the floor layout and all that kind of stuff. All right, this isn't making much sense right here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, I think, because I don't want anybody to come back and think that we're supposed to be creating our own string class. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say that you create a variable to contain a reference to the class, actually to the object. So like if we're going to use the scanner class to get some input, we might do something like this. Scanner SC equals new scanner, parentheses, system.in. The object, well, scanner is the name of the class. Somebody wrote a class named scanner. Yay. Guys who created the Java language did. And then the new keyword, just like hiring a construction team to go and build your house from the blueprints. The scanner class is the blueprint. New creates the object, the instance based on that blueprint, and then that is stored in the variable SC. If you're familiar with the concept of pointers in C++, then this is just a pointer to the area in memory that contains the object. All right, why don't we go and actually create some of this stuff? The newest version of NetBeans looks a little bit different than prior versions. Looks like it's been shuttled over to the Apache Foundation. So if you've run NetBeans before and then you install the newest version, it may look a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and launch NetBeans. You saw what I did. I just went to the search and typed in NetBeans. If you haven't installed NetBeans yet and you're going to use, your old favorite tool, Java development, that's okay at this point in the class. All right, so what am I doing? I'm just waiting for NetBeans to load because my office computer is extraordinarily slow. But I'm getting a new one for the first time in 7 years. That'd be awesome. Or I could have done it on my Mac. But Apache NetBeans will run on your Mac. It'll run on Linux. run on Windows, lots of different versions. I'm running Windows 7 here. That tells you how old this office computer is. So I should just pause the recording while this is going on. This is taking a tedious amount of time. Alright, it's 2 minutes later. I will remember to launch this before I begin the recording. I'm going to pause it again. Well, while we're waiting, let's take another look at the PowerPoint. So, here's what they say. An object is a set of related data which identifies the current state of the object. You'll hear the word state. The state of your house, right? Ooh, the state of my house is all messy and the lawn isn't mowed, right? Well, actually, the state is a list of all the information in it. So, if you have an employees class, then there'll be some information about the first and the last name, right, of the employee. You'll have an employee number. So, if I am Tony Stark and my employee number is 1, so my program creates an object and stores Tony Stark as the name and employee 1 as the employee number, then that is the state of that object. Later on, if I fire myself and then I get rehired and I'm employee 7, well, the state of that object has changed. The state is just the information in it. I'm not going to use that word very often, although it's, a strictly correct computer science-y term to use. Instead, I'll just say the values of the class, the values of the member variables, something like that. Notice that they defined it as a set of related data which identifies the current state. I defined it by the class. I could have done about what they did and then put my definition in object and then said that a class is a template for that object. But I'd rather do it like this, kind of top down rather than bottom up. So I say it's for a collection of data and the methods, functions that work on that data. Notice that they left that out of their definition. That's all right. They're allowed to do that. If I ask you on an exam for definition of what a class is, I want you to be able to quote mine. Right? Fortunately, I let you use notes during the exams, right? Want to use your notes during the exam? That's great. And the quiz will have the same question, so you'll be prepared for it. You'll know that it's coming up on the exam. Looks like it's finally loaded. Alright, so I'm going to make a new project. I'm going to make a new project so that we can demonstrate some concepts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do File, New Project. Now, prior versions of NetBeans defaulted to using the so-called ANT build system, build script. There are other build systems as well that you could install. Nowadays, when you download Apache NetBeans, it comes preloaded with all 3 of these things, but they're not activated yet. If I'm clicking, it'll say Java with Gradle. This feature is not enabled yet. Press Next to activate it. Well, I could do that. I could create a Java application and have the Gradle framework being the thing that's building it and keeping track of all the make scripts and stuff like that. I am familiar with ANT, the functioning of it, just because that's what NetBeans defaulted to for the past 11 years. So I'm going to go ahead and choose ANT. You will have to activate it. How do you activate it? You just press the next button. Hopefully you don't get any error messages doing that. If it kind of hangs or you get error messages on it, you might just restart and see if it actually starts working. I actually got an error message, but again, I think that it just timed out because this computer's pretty slow. When I install the newest version on my new Mac, it worked lickety-split. You probably won't have trouble. Let's go in and click Next. You may see me accidentally come up here and type a project name right there. No, you specify the project name in a little bit. So next, project name. All right. I'm going to call this Lecture A. I enumerate my lectures with letters to distinguish them from the homework, which has numbers, right? So if I'm going to refer to file C for project C, you know that was from a lecture. But if I refer to project 3, file 3, then you know that I'm referring to homework. Well, why don't I just call it lecture A? If I felt like it, I could even put the class name on it. If you felt like it, you could even put your name in the project name, right? Something like that. Identify it yourself. Then it's going to create a horribly long main class name. And that's all right, but I'll probably rename it. This option here, create main class, is not a bad thing to do at all. You feel like just putting your initials here to shorten that thing, that's fine. Go ahead and let it create the main class. There will be times when you don't want to do that, but you can go back in and delete the main class if that's the case. And that is specifically if you're going to be creating a form. If you're going to do that, then you won't want to create a main class most likely. And I'll demonstrate that when the time comes. Notice that there is something here before the period and something here after the period. I would honestly prefer it if you removed everything, including the period, before that. And I'll show you why. So I'm not going to do that. Feel free to go ahead and do that so you don't have to make the changes that I'm going to make as soon as the main class is created. I'm going to click Finish. Nice and slow. All right. So over here in the projects, you'll see my brand new project, right? CIT26, Lecture A JGT. That is a really clumsy class name. I'm going to shorten that considerably. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename it. It's called refactoring. Yeah, you could come over here and re-click, do a refactor from right there, but I'm going to show you something where you do it right in the text. Well, why don't I increase the size first? Make sure that you can read it. Don't let me go through this too quickly. You may want to mess with these settings as well. You can change the colors of your environment. Some people like to program on a black background. I think for videos and projecting on a screen, doing it on a white background is easier to see. So I'm going to choose Tools, Options, Fonts and Colors. There are different profiles you can try out if you want to make it look different. If you choose City Lights, puts it on a black background. I'm going to leave it on NetBeans. Seems to be two different versions, and I don't remember which one it defaulted to. Alright, maybe I'll just click Cancel because I'm not sure which one it defaulted to, but I'm going to make a change to it. I'm just going to increase the size of it. Okay, NetBeans without any numbers, any version numbers. Alright, so you can customize the color or the size of any specific part of this. If you want to change the size of a comment, make the text larger. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but don't. I mean, feel free to make any changes you want, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to default and change the font size for all of it. And I know all of y'all cool people have monitors, laptops with resolution of 8,000 by 6,000 or whatever. The font may be too small for you. You may want to do the same thing that I'm doing here. Right, I'm going to set my font to about 18, and to make it even easier to read, I'm going to set it to bold. Click OK. Click OK. Now my font's all large. I'm going to remove this comment. I know the author. I could leave that. There's nothing wrong here. Instead, I'm going to put that stuff up here, right? I'm going to put my name up here. I'm going to put the class. CIT2613. This is kind of a very specific header format. I would like for you to go ahead and follow it though. I may not take the time to modify all my documents when in a lecture to go ahead and do this, but I will post some Java formatting standards that I would like for you to follow. Alright, and I'm just going to do first lecture demonstration of input, output, and creating a class, creating and using a class. That's what we're going to do. Alright, this is what's known as a multi-line comment. This syntax was invented like in 1970 for the C programming language, and maybe even further back than that. Most of our comments are going to use the single line comment operator, which is 2 slashes. Hi, this is a single line. A multi-line comment begins, I am going to change the colors. I'd like for that to be a little bit more visible than gray. Maybe I shouldn't because it might look different on my screen than yours, but you could always change yours to match. So here we go. Multi-line comment begins with a slash and a star, ends in a star and a slash. And so if I needed to end my multi-line comment up earlier, I would put a star and a slash there, and that ends my multi-line comment. Okay, now that broke my program, right? So I'm going to fix that. I'm just hitting Control Z to undo everything. And I'm going to change my comment text to look a little bit different. So I went back into Options, Fonts and Colors, choosing Comment. And I'm going to try to pick a color that I like a little bit more. So I'm scrolling down to the foreground color, picking a custom color. I kind of like for it to be some kind of dark green, like that. All right. I think that's easy to read. I hope you agree. If not, send me an email and complain, and I'll send me a text message. By the way, I actually strongly recommend everybody send me a text message, but I've already made that clear in the class notes. Just introduce yourself, give me your name, your phone number, so that we can text each other. Okay, so you see this statement right here. In your Intro to Java class, you may not have used package at all if you were using a text editor, right? TextPad or something to create your files. What this package statement does is it tucks your file inside a subdirectory of the project. When I made a project, when I did File, New Project, and then it said Create Main Class, everything before this period was the package name. Now that's great. You can go ahead and leave it like that without making any changes. What I would appreciate is if you deleted the package line and then made the necessary correction, because that's going to create an error, because then the thing is going to be in a subdirectory and it should not be. All right, so I just deleted all that. Deleted the package line. You saw what I did? If you want to be a keyboard, you like using a keyboard rather than the mouse, here's what I did. As I move my cursor to the beginning of the line, I hit Shift down arrow to highlight the whole thing, Shift down cursor, and then Control X to delete it. So sometimes you'll see things changing on my screen without the cursor wandering. Alrighty, there we go. I got an error. If I hit Control S to save everything, it'll definitely hammer in the fact that I have an error here, and it's indicating it there. And that's because my file is inside a subdirectory. Easiest thing to do is to click on this, click on the error itself. It describes the error, well, even hovering it over, it describes the error, and then it tries to give some fixes for it. Move class to correct folder or change package declaration. Well, if I did change package declaration, it just put that package line back where it was. I don't want that. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to move the file, the class, to the correct folder. Now, at times in NetBeans, you'll see some complaints about that. It's not recommended to put that in the default package. Well, too bad. The reason I like it there is because then if you take this file and you mail it to somebody or you submit it to me or something, I can open it in a text editor and compile it, no problem. But if it's got that package statement in there, it's not going to compile with a text editor like TextPad, no problem. I'll probably wind up deleting that line right then and there. And if you're posting code on the internet, you're not going to want to use that package statement most likely. So if you ever see it in your own code, delete it and then correct it by clicking on the error. Word of warning, don't just recklessly go and start clicking on red dots, the yellow symbols over here to try to correct your errors. Only do it if you absolutely know that it's the right thing to do. Don't do it as an experiment. I'll give you an example. Don't type this because it's going to be wrong. But if I type the word string and accidentally capitalize the S and the T, it's going to flag that as an error because there is no class with S capital T. Oh, what's wrong? I come over here. Ooh, create class. Yeah, that'll fix it. I'm going to create that. No. All of a sudden everything's wrong. You've created an unnecessary class. You're going to start trying to use that class it's not going to work. Don't click that helpful solution thing unless you know it is the correct thing to do. And I swear that I get lots of people sending me, submissions, and they can't figure out what's wrong, and it's because they went through and they clicked some of the offered solutions and it created some erroneous classes in there. So now I have this really lousy class in there. I just need to delete that class. By the way, if your project thing disappears because you close all this to give yourself more space, right, that's fine, but you're going to want to be able to get it back. So you're going to go to Window, Projects to bring that window back. So I created that string class. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to come over here, expand the default package, find the string class, and if you didn't do all that because I told you not to do it in the beginning, then I'm going to delete that. So I right-clicked on it and chose delete. Ooh, that's taking a while. That's all right. Gives you time to do it if you did it. Safely delete? No, I'm actually not going to safely delete. I would if under circumstances, but I flat out know the steps that I went to make this error. All right, and so all of a sudden this is a problem again, right? Because this class no longer exists. And I'm going to delete that. That was wrong. Okay, so what am I going to do now? Going to demonstrate input and output, right? First program you always write in any class is hello world. Well, I like for it to do a little bit more than that. I'll come back here and add a comment as to what this function does after I figure out what this method is going to do. I will accidentally use the term function when I should be using the term method. The reason for that is a method is a function that's a part of a class. Java doesn't even have functions because there's no way to create a function that's not a part of a class, unlike in C++ or Python, something like that. Again, I'm expecting you to know this, but I'm saying it anyways. I happen to like my braces to line up rather than to have the brace on the opening line above it. So you will see me go and insert a carriage return there to move my braces so that they line up nicely like that. Is that font large enough? I wouldn't mind it being even a little bit larger. Maybe 22. All right. Who knows? That may drive me crazy. I try to set my resolution as low and make the font as large as possible. Make it easy to see on YouTube. All right. I want to do some I/O. I'm going to display something. Okay, doing output is as easy as using a print statement. But we can't just do that. System, that's the package name for this, dot. Come on, let me type the dot. When you type the dot, it tries to bring up a list of everything that's in the system package. System class, actually. System dot OUT, all lowercase, dot PRINT LN just means go to the next line, right, when you're done with it. Open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. Hello, exclamation mark. Put that between my double quotes. Unlike Python, you can't get away with using apostrophes. Got to use the double quotes. All right, that's output. Right. You're going to create a variable. You want to store this output in a string before you display it. That's totally cool. Like string space hello message semicolon, right? Hello MSG. Hello MSG equals hi, quote, hi there, end quote. Semicolon. And then my print line, I'm going to modify it just to print hello message like that. All right, so when I run it, it's going to print hi there. So how did I run it? I went for the green debug arrow, the run project arrow up here. Quite often I hit the hammer and broom first to do a build and then run it. But if you run it, it tries to do a build right on the spot. All right, where's my output window? I'm not seeing what it's doing. Maybe if I expand it, it'll show my output window. Okay, it says build successful down here. If you don't see your output window, you can find it under window output. You'd even break it out if you need to, right? Hi there. Now this one's easy to change the size of. You just hold the control key or the command key, spin the mouse up, spin the mouse wheel up. All right, so it did in fact print hi there. I'm feeling good. I can now do output. I'm going to close the output window. What am I going to do now? I'm going to change this just a little bit more. I'm going to make a variable, int x equals 3. Now I'm going to print that value out. System.out.println, parentheses, quote, x equals space, end quote. In some languages, you separate the parameters of a print statement with commas. Not in this one, you just do a plus. And what it does is it converts everything to a string in order for print line to be able to, display it. So you don't have to convert everything to a string like you do in some languages. Anyways, here we go. X space equals space, end quote, plus x. I'm going to run it again. Hammer and broom to build it. Run project. Boom. Hi there. X equals 3. All right, that's demonstrating output. One more thing I'm going to demonstrate as far as output is concerned. I apparently have some old ones here. I'm going to close those, get those out of the way. All right. You can use what's known as a formatted print statement, printf. Looks a little bit different. I'm going to go through this a little bit more slowly. System.out.printf, parentheses, quote. By the way, comma, x equals %d. Why %d? Because d stands for integer. Why? Not sure. You'd think it'd be %i. And then \n in an end quote. Now this is a placeholder. We will pass in the variable to fill in that placeholder. And in this case, we do not use pluses to separate the parameters. This is a function where for every placeholder, there has to be a value in the parameter list separated by commas. Since we only have one placeholder, we're going to only put one thing here. So comma, x, end quote, semicolon. You can get a lot fancier with your formatting. If this is a floating point number, we could specify the number of decimal points, right, decimal places to print it out to. We could specify the number of columns, how it's padded out with spaces. And this is good enough. So that's a formatted print statement. I'm going to even add a comment to that effect. Printf equals formatted print statement. All right. We need to do some input now. Programs are much more interesting if they do input. Now, unlike some languages, you actually have to bring in something just to do some input. You have to bring in a class. You have to import the class. We have to import the scanner. Then we can create a scanner object. We can use that reference to that scanner object to do our input. So I'm going to scroll up to above the public class definition and do import space scanner with a capital S. And that's incorrect. My mistake. I forgot java dot all lowercase util dot all lowercase scanner. Now honestly, since I'm using NetBeans, I could have gotten away without having to add that line. I could have let NetBeans offer to add it. You don't see me do that as a shortcut. If that line was missing, then when I went down here to actually create the reference to the scanner object, I would just do it like this. Scanner SC, right? SC just stands for scanner. You see me use that a lot. Equals new scanner, parentheses, and scanner in each case is capitalized S. Also here, capital S, system.in, in parentheses, semicolon. Now, of course, we're getting an error. It doesn't know what a scanner is, and you saw me delete that import statement. But if I go and click on the error, it's going to say add import for java.util.scanner. NetBeans is clever enough to know that this commonly used class is part of this commonly, this commonly imported package. So I'm going to go ahead and let it do that. Add import for java.util.scanner. But I could have gone up here and typed it in by hand like you saw me do a little bit earlier. Again, I'm expecting you to already know what an import statement does, but I did want to point out that I did not actually have to go and add it by hand. Alright, so now that I have a scanner, I can use it for input. Let's ask them for some information, like their name. System.out.println, and let's just do a print so that it doesn't go to the next line, so that no carriage return comes out. Parentheses, inside the parentheses I'm going to put some quotes. What is your first name? Question mark. End quote, semicolon, excuse me, end quote, in parentheses, semicolon. Notice I put a few spaces here so that the output would look a little bit prettier. I could even put a greater than sign before the end quote, just a little hammer into the user, but that's where they're supposed to type. Not strictly necessary, but I like seeing it. I'll show you what it looks like when I run it. All right, now we need a string variable in order to hold their first name. I could declare that up at the top of the method. Some people like to declare all their variables up right at the very top. Or I could create it right here on the fly. I'm gonna do that. String space, first name. Now some people will capitalize in the variable name. That's called camel case because there's a cap in the middle, there's a hump in the middle. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Some people like underscores. Better not do that either in this case. String first name equals sc dot next, parentheses in parentheses. That reads in a string. Be warned that if they typed in several words as their first name, right, then that wouldn't be a good thing. You would need to use next line to read in an entire line of text. But we're going to only ask them for their first name. Hopefully they're smart enough to only type in one word. So this should work. Now we know their first name. Let's ask them for their age. System.out.print, parentheses in parentheses, quote, what is your age, question mark, space, space, end quote. Excuse me, space, space, greater than, end quote. Again, the greater than is optional. Now I need a variable to hold their age. May as well be an integer, although we can make it a floating point variable in case they like saying that they are 3.2 years old, right? Why not create it as a double? Double age equals sc dot next capital D double parentheses in parentheses. Now that's enough. I'm going to just leave this code on the screen for a moment. You can pause it and catch up if you're trying to follow along. I better run it to make sure it works though. Hammer and broom. I'm not seeing my output, so I'm going to do window output. There it is, build successful. If I had an error, I could correct it. What could my error be? Say that I had left off the C in SC. Next. Then when I hammer and broom it, I get an error message. I can just click on the blue line, it will take me. So, what it'll say, if I scroll out, error, cannot find symbol, that means there is no variable of that name. So I'm going to double click on this blue part. It'll take me straight to the error, and I can go, oh yeah, that should have been an SC. All right, now we have their name and their age. We could do something with it, right? Let's increase their age by 1. Age plus plus. Or maybe you like age plus equals 1. Or maybe you like age equals age plus 1. And in general, if you're just going to increment something by 1, if you have the ability to do that syntax in your language, can't in Python, then do plus plus. All right, what did we do? We added 1 to their age. Adding 1 to the age. Now that's a stupid comment because we know that that's what it's doing. We should actually explain while we're adding 1 to the age. Calculate age for next year. That's what we're really doing, right? Because next year they're going to be a year older. Alrighty, now let's print some information out. System.out. We're going to use a formatted print statement. Printf. You don't have to. If it's appropriate, go ahead. Printf. Parentheses in parentheses. Inside the parentheses, hello, %s for string, period. Next year you will be %d years old, period, \n. And that's kind of scrolled off the screen a little bit. System.out.printf, and here's what we put inside the parentheses. Hello, %s, that's a placeholder for the name. Next year you will be %d years old. And I just made a mistake. %d represents integer. We want it to be a floating point number, so I'm going to make it a %f, the floating point. Now after the double quote, before the parentheses, and I'm going to need a semicolon there, so I'm going to add the semicolon right there so I don't forget. I'm going to put my parameters on the next line, just trying to make it more easy to read. So I'm going to put a comma there. I don't know if that's going to help. I mean, yeah, I have to have the comma. But anyways, okay. So I hit comma and I hit the enter key. I want this %s to be filled in with their name, and I want the %f to be filled in with their age. But their name is actually called first name, so I made a mistake here. I need to go back and correct the name of the variable to first name. All right. Program ought to work. Let's run it. And then if we scroll all the way down here, we see this comment, to do code application logic here. We don't need to do that because we have just coded our application logic. This closing brace represents the end of the method, so I'm going to add a comment here, end main method. And then after this, I'm going to do end class. Why am I doing that? Eventually you're going to hit the point where you have too many closing brackets, braces, or you don't have enough. It makes it a lot easier to track if you put labels on your braces. You'll see me do that. Sometimes I'll forget to do it. Oh, I mentioned that I could have changed the name of my class to something a little bit better. Why don't I go ahead and do that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up to the top where it says public class, whatever. I'm going to highlight all that, right click, and choose refactor. Although I could choose refactor just from straight up here. Refactor, rename my class. I'm just going to call it, I could call it main, right? I could call it lecture A. Or maybe lecture A underscore and then my initials. Something like that. Apply rename on comments. Yeah, why not? If I had any comments that refer to that class name, I would want to do that. Then I click refactor. And if I go and look at my projects again, I will see that that class has been renamed appropriately. That saves you the time of going out and finding the file name and renaming it and also renaming it again. So the project still has its original name. 2613 Lecture A JGT. Okay. Let's run it. Hammer and broom. View the output. Build successful. Oh. To run this application from the command line without Ant, try this. You may want to try something. If you have configured, well, I shouldn't say you. If Java is appropriately configured on your machine, you should be able to run the compiler from the command prompt and or from the terminal, if you're not using Windows. The way I can do that is I can hit, if you know where the Windows key is on your keyboard, you can hold the Windows key down, hit the R, and it props up the run window. So I hit Windows R, not Control R or Alt R, the Windows R. And then I'm going to type in CMD to launch the command prompt. And I don't even know which monitor it opened it on. I've changed all my resolutions. I'm not seeing my command prompt window. Well, how about that? Oh, there he is. Okay, well, here's one of them anyways. So, if I type in Java C, which stands for Java compiler, it should actually run. If it doesn't run, it's because the Java bin directory for the JDK is not part of the path. So if I type set path, okay, my path is huge, right? These are all the directories in the search path. So from the command prompt, I could run a program in any of these directories. I'm not going to worry about showing y'all how to change that or whatever. It's nice if you can compile things by hand. If you don't gotta, I don't think I'm going to do that a single time in this class. But it does show that it's configured correctly. All right, back to Apache NetBeans. I'm going to run the program, switch back to my class, run it, and it says, what is your first name? Now here's why I put that little greater than sign, just lets them know where to type it. Yeah, they already knew where to type it because of the cursor, but if you follow some consistent mechanism like that, then the user gets real used to looking for that, knowing where they're going to type. All right, what's my first name? Well, it's Jeff. What's your age? Well, I'm incredibly old. I happen to be 87 years old. Not true. I'm close, right? Here we go. Hello, Jeff. Next year you will be 88.000. Okay, this may be a few too many decimal points, right? Decimal places. I could modify that. I might not want to display any, right? I may just want to display this floating point number as a whole number. I can modify that printf formatting string, the placeholder for it. Say how many decimal places I want. It defaults to 6 for a floating point number. Now I'm going to go back to that printf statement. Hello %s, next year you will be this old. And so if I made it %.2, it's going to display it out to 2 decimal places. Jeff. 3. All right. Next year I'll be 4.00 years old. Why don't I eliminate all of the decimal points altogether so it only displays that part. I go back to my class, and I'm going to make it %.0f. 0 means no decimal. All right, here we go. I run it one more time. I said I run it one more. Well, I guess I only built it. What's your first name? Joe. Wish it move the cursor to that spot. All right, and what is your age? I'm 27. And I may even be 27.6 years old. And then, hello, Joe. Next year you will be 29 years old. All right, now that's interesting. It rounded it. So maybe I'm not so fond of it being formatted as a decimal. After all, as a floating point after all. I may want to change that data type. That'll be the last change that I make. Oh, I'm just going to leave it, but I'm going to make it 1 decimal point. So here we go. %.1f. If I wanted to change it to an int, I would change double age to int age, but then I would need to change the format, the placeholder, to %d to represent an int. It'll let you know if you get it wrong. Like if I had this as %d, don't make that change, it's incorrect. And then when I run it, name, Joe, age 13, boom, it blows up. We get all this error. We can kind of see where it went wrong. Now I don't want to be inside format.java. I want to find it in my own file. The bottom of the error message indicates the position of the error. So I can double click on that, and it takes me to where the problem was. And hopefully I read the error message carefully enough to be able to interpret it. If the output was tucked away underneath here, that'd be easier to figure out. But anyways, that should have been an F. %.1f. Here we go. Run it. By the way, x equals 3. What is your first name? Yeah, it's going to work fine now. What is your age? I'm 3.5 years old. Hello, Joe. Next year you'll be 4.5 years old. Well, true enough. I think this is enough for the demonstration of NetBeans. We need to demonstrate uploading it. Upload it to Canvas. If you view this in the far future and are seeing it in a different learning management system, then of course it'll be a different mechanism for where you upload it. But we're using Canvas. Okay, so I need to remember where these files are stored. I need to remember the directory of my NetBeans projects. So I'm going to go back out to projects, probably not minimized for you, but if they are, you can always get back to Windows projects. Where's that file? Well, I'm going to click on the project name itself. Right click and choose Properties. And there's the project folder. See all that? Documents, NetBeans projects, 2613 Lecture A. Okay. I can surely go and find that. I'm going to close this project. Nah, I'm not going to close the project, but I'm going to close all the windows for it. Just make sure everything is saved. Okay. One thing you can do is you can come down here and choose Export Project to Zip. If you do that, it creates a zip file, or it will, and it tells you the path. Now, do you really want it stored in local, temp, whatever? No. You want to go and you want to make your own folder for this stuff, right? So I'm going to need to make a new folder. Right, and this is CIT2613 homework. Something like that, just so that you know where this stuff goes. And then when you click Save, it puts a zip file there. Well, I didn't give it a good file name, right? So I could call this Lecture A, or Lecture A_JGT, something like that. You can give me the zip file, and that works great. Then I have the entire project. There is an advantage to giving someone the entire project. Then they can import that into NetBeans, and they'll have the exact copy of the, of all the settings, all the classes, already grouped together. Just nice. But you can just give me the .java file as well, at least in the beginning. At a certain point in a homework assignment, I may say zip the project and give it to me, but you don't have to do that at this point. You could just go and open that Java file and do a save as, or we could go out to the documents directory and find it. I want to upload that file into Canvas. I'm going to go back to my browser. So to submit your homework or your lecture, obviously this is a lecture, this is the homework, then you go to our Canvas section, click on modules, or click on assignments. You should see it listed in both places. It says Lecture A, first program. Gonna clump over here. If I click on modules, I'm gonna minimize these things. I'll see week 1, Lecture A, first program. So if I click on that, submit assignment, I can either go and get that zip file, or I could upload the .java file, or both, right? Even better. Last thing I'm going to want you to upload is a screenshot of your program running. And I should have done that before I closed all my windows. I'm going to go back and do that. I want a screenshot of every program that you develop. Now you don't have to do that for lectures, but I'm demonstrating it because I do want you to do it for homework assignments. So I'm going to go back to NetBeans, and I'm going to take a screenshot. How do you take a screenshot? You may already perfectly know. If not, I'm going to talk you through a way of doing it. You can also check the screenshots document in the class information module. There's like 20 different ways of taking screenshots. Feel free to do it this way. Feel free to do it any way you like. And if you're on Mac or Linux or something else, then I'm sure that you already know how to do it. Okay, so what I would like is for you to open up one of your code files and to run your program. What is your first name? Yeah, whatever. Age, 12. All right. I would really like for the output and the code to be on the same screen. Let's see if I can manage that. What I did is I grabbed the code and I'm going to drag it over to the side so that I can see my output and the code on the same screen. Or however you want to do it. If your output was down here at the bottom, that's fine. Don't take a million screenshots scrolling down through all the output, right? I mean, there may be multiple pages of output, but I just want to see that it worked, right? So just scroll down to the bottom of your output. Get some code on the screen. So there we go. There we go. We're ready to take a screenshot. The easy way, there's a print screen button on your keyboard. On a full-size keyboard, it's next to the F12 key. Anyways, it'll be on the top row. You may have to hit some modifier key to get it to go. Press the print screen button. And there's a clipping or a snipping tool in Windows. There's all sorts of ways of doing it. I'm going to press the print screen key on my keyboard, and then I need to paste it. Oh, look at this. I do not want to save it to OneDrive. Sure, why not if you felt like it. I'm going to run Word or Paint in order to create a screenshot. Just paste it into a Word doc, paste it into a WordPad doc, paste it into a Paint document, whatever you want. And again, this is Windows specific. You Mac users will know how to create your own screenshots. I don't care how you do it as long as you upload the document. So I'm going to load Paint and I'm going to paste it. Now here we go. To paste, Control V, like vehicle. Or I could come over here and do paste, right? Boom, it's there. If you feel like cropping and doing stuff to it, great. You don't have to crop. That's good enough. Now save your document. Save as. I'm going to go and see if I can find that export directory. Should be in my documents, right? Should be under CIT2613. Or not. I don't recall where I saved it. CIT2613 homework. It doesn't matter where you save it. Save it to your desktop. I don't care. Okay, and this was lecture A. Normally you'll be doing this for homework assignments, so you can call it homework 1. You may as well put your initials on it or something, right? Lecture A, right, and then JGT. Feel like taking a space out like I usually do? There we go. All right, now I have a zip file and the screenshot. Let's go back to Canvas and upload those guys. Now please upload them all in one fell swoop. Don't submit an assignment and then submit another assignment and then submit another assignment. So choose File. I need to go and find that document. It's under Documents. It was under 2613. Why aren't things arranged by name? Ooh, that's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't want to see. All right, fine. Folder 2613. Okay, you know how to find stuff, even if I don't. Honestly, what I would do is I would drag my folder and put it in my favorites so that I can get to it very easily. All right, I really do want these sorted by name, so I'm just going to right click on some blank part of the screen and choose Sort by Name. And then I should be able to find my 2613 homework folder. I am going to dock that over here in my favorites, right? That way I can always get to it easily. And there's my PNG file and my zip file. Notice that when I saved it, this is a drag, it did not add the .zip extension. I made a mistake when I exported it by not telling it to give it a ZIP extension. So when you're uploading it, if it doesn't have the ZIP extension in it, rename it and make it .zip. Or when you export it, make sure that you put that there, right? Choose the right project, choose File, Export Project to Zip, right? See, it had that .zip extension right there, but when I browsed and I went to the different directory, my documents, 2613 homework, right, and then lecture A, JGT, .zip, right. Then it'd be all good to go. And by the way, if you don't have extensions enabled in your folders, you need to do so to distinguish between the different file types. Okay, so going back, I'm going to grab the PNG, and there it is, but I want to add another file. I want to upload both of them. Then give me the zip. And it'd be even cooler if you gave me both the zip and the .java file. At the minimum, give me the .java file. Where did we find that? In that NetBeans project folder. So choose File, Documents, NetBeans projects. Of course, I have 8 billion of them, so I'm going to sort them by date modified. And there it is. I can go in to that directory, go into the source directory, find my .java. Now see, if it doesn't say .java, it's a problem, and you're going to want to figure out how to fix that. You're going to want to change your view options. You can't do that apparently from the File Open dialog. If you're going to need to change your view options, just go back to Explorer, right? I just opened a window. And you do it differently on every operating system, right? On Windows 10, there's an option, there's a menu bar up here. Just Google how to do it. I'm going to give you just a real quick preview though. If I go to Folder and Search Options, View, By default, a lot of window installs have hide extensions for known file types chosen, which is a real drag because then when you're looking at this, it may not show the file extensions. Right? This is actually a zip file, but it doesn't say .zip. Actually, that one's not a zip file since we're in the NetBeans directory, but it could. So, if you don't see file extensions, enable them. Figure out how to do it. Google up file extensions, Windows 8, Windows 10, whatever you're on. Change it so that you can find them. And again, that's all Windows specific, right? I'm going to undo that change. Okay. So I'm in my file selection dialog, so I can double click on the .java file. I would love it if you gave me the PNG and the export zip and the .java. To get a grade, I at least need the screenshot and the .java file. Okay, and then click Submit Assignment. Submitting, and boom, we are ready to go. Okay, we need some dummy little assignment to follow along with this lecture, and there will be another lecture that will be about creating a class. Well, I'll record that in a little bit. For now, I'm just going to tack on the homework, write it out for you right here. Homework. Write a program that asks for two numbers, two values, x and y. Have it print x times y, x plus y, and x minus y. Why not even x divided by y? You may as well use integer types, in which case, if you're going to use formatted printf, you would want to use %d. If you feel like using doubles would be kind of cool since we're doing division. Yeah. Make x and y to be a type double. Submit the screenshot and the .java file or the project zip file, or both. All right, so that's going to be our homework assignment. That's the first homework assignment. So I'll create a folder for that, upload it. We ought to be good to go. All right, hope this was educational. Look for the second lecture where we create a class. I'll upload that pretty soon as well. Oh, I forgot to mention, I should probably create an 2-minute introductory video to mention this as well. But there's a class review form. For a lecture, you don't have to upload a .zip file, you know, and a screenshot. If you're not going to write the program as you watch the lecture, because that can get frustrating, you can just go to Modules. Under Class Information, there's a lecture video form. You can fill it out, right? Just download it, fill it out. It's actually a rich text file, even though it says doc, right? What's it need to say when you fill it out? Right. So my note is, I'd rather you follow along and enter the code as it is shown on screen and then submit that. But if you want to, you can skip typing. In that case, submit the following information. You must do one or the other to receive credit for the tutorial. So include your name and the lecture watched, right? So you're going to put that in the file name. And then we're going to fill out our form. All right, my name is Jeff Thompson. I just watched lecture A. Yeah. When did I do it? Whenever. Did you look at the daily notes from the video? Well, there really aren't very many daily notes for this one. I could upload the source code for it though. Maybe I'll do that. Why not? So usually there will be daily notes for the video. So, you know, yeah, we went and we looked at the video daily notes. What did we learn? Please write at least 4 sentences describing what we learned. Oh, I don't know. How to submit assignments to Canvas. right? You do not have to be following along with me here. But if you did not create the Java, file, then you're going to want to create a video review form, right? How to use NetBeans to create a project, right? We learned that. 3, how to use, how to do input and output in Java using print statements and the scanner class. And let's go hog wild and put I love it when Word starts spacing things inconsistently. Who cares, right? And why isn't it enumerating these even anyways? You do not have to take a lot of time to format it nicely. Okay. And then how to do formatted printing with printf, right? And then 5, how to create a zip file, zip export of the project. That's enough, right? Don't need to write, a term paper on it. But I do want you to write enough to convince me that you actually watched the video. I should make this mandatory, even along with the .java code. Yeah. I think I'm going to make this mandatory. So after every video you watch, I would like for you to fill out the form and upload that along with the .java file. You don't got to on this one because I didn't tell you to when we were uploading those files. So don't bother. But in the future, for all the homework, for all the other lectures, I'd like for you to do that. Okay, then you'd save it and upload it. Okay, so you have that choice. You can just fill that out, or you can fill that out and upload the .java file as well. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.